Hey everyone, it's Jerry at the Fledge. Welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. And today I am super excited to have my good friend Michael Lynn on the show. What's up, Michael?
What's happening, brother? How are you?
I am well. So we were just chatting a little bit about what you're up to and where you're at and all that. Why don't you tell the crowd where you're at, what you're doing?
Yeah. So me and the wife got in our RV and we are headed out west. We're taking 2 months off and away just to get our mental health together. And right now we are about an hour outside of Tulsa, and we're headed to Tulsa actually to see Greenwood and the Greenwood district and all of that area over there. And then our end destination is going to be San Diego, and we're going to probably spend a month on the trip out and time there, and then we're going to head back I-10, so the southern route back east, all the way back to Orlando, Tampa area, where my mom and dad are. We're going to stay there for another month and be back in March. So.
Yeah, I can't show my wife this show because that's what she wants to do all the time. Let's buy a camper and let's go across America. And I really want to do that. I really envy you for doing this. This is good. And you already said Greenwood, and I always think of Amaru up in here with Greenwood District Studios, but I also got to give props to Killer Mike.
Yeah.
We ought to call you Killer Mike.
I'm gonna have to blaze my own trail, get my own nickname. But yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I know. But actually, you and Killer Mike have a lot of values in common. You watch that trigger warning that he did, and a lot of what he's talking about. But anyways, enough of that. So today I want to talk about the firearms training and education that is the core of what you and I are planning on doing. But I also want to make sure we hit on your other projects. So you got your sweet T-shirt on. Why don't you tell us something about Michael Lynn and some of the projects that you're working on? And we always like to know where you were born and raised, where you went to high school, all that stuff.
Yeah, so I born and raised in Lansing, Michigan. I went to every high school but Everett, like literally Walter French, Sexton, Eastern, Holt High School. I went to all of them. Central High out in Holt. I actually graduated in 2013 with my GED at 33 years old. That's my schooling life plan, or my life journey. What I'm doing, I've got multiple projects going on, but really they're necessities. And then the way I look at it is everything that I kind of went through in life that was stagnant, or traps that I fell into as a young man. I try to create a lane for young people to go in to kind of be educated on those traps and not get caught in them. So I have the Village Lansing that I founded with my wife and a couple other friends, that we do a lot of give back mentoring. We have basically three subject matters. We have education, life skills, and arts that we plan to work with the young people on, and kind of do this Village Academy thing where we can hit all bases of what's not being hit in school. But we also get back to the community any way we can. So if things come about, like Christmas, Thanksgiving dinners we gave out, those weren't necessarily what the Village does, but we look at treating the kids' issues, if they have any, by way of the whole family if need be. And sometimes just the plate on the table is what may be the reason why they can't get to school, their stomach hurting. So these are all things I went through as a young person, and I figured I had to find, instead of asking and begging people to do these things, I felt like it was important for me to use my ambition and my drive to just create these segues into these resources. So the Village Lansing is that. We just recently opened a resource center in South Lansing, like right down the street from where I grew up. I grew up on Hillcrest, and our building is right on Holmes and MLK. So that's a major milestone for me to be able to build something back in my neighborhood. And then you talked about Killer Mike, and I did want to drag that together because it's important for people to understand where my motivation comes from. But it's people like Killer Mike and people like Nipsey Hussle, Derek Grace, it's people like that, T.I. Tip, that I see and I watch, that I emulate. Those are the people that I watch doing good things in their community, standing strong on their morals and their ethics, but really doing things strong in the community. And that's like what young people, we are what we watch, we are what we see, we are what we emulate what we see all the time, and that's what I see. Nip is something very similar to what the village is, this incubator in his own neighborhood. And it's something, I sometimes feel like I just wake up and these ideas come to mind, and it's not really. It's like I'm absorbing all of these things around me, and I'm putting it into play in my neighborhood and where I'm at. And so I talk to the young people about that a lot too, because what you feed yourself with all the time is really what you will spit out. Like no matter what you put in your body, it's eventually gonna come out, whether it's food or knowledge. So that's kind of when you say Killer Mike, you're not so far off that a lot of what you see with him, you'll see come out of me as well, because that's like one of my distant mentors.
Yeah.
So that's that, and I don't want to drag on. You tell me when you need to jump in here, but there's a
Oh
lot
man,
going on.
I saw America 20 to life. You can hold your own on this show for sure. So I'll
I don't
let you
want to
talk
take it.
all day. People are sick of
Yeah,
me, man. We want to hear what Mike's
yeah.
got to say.
So America 20 to Life was created again in the necessity and need to get information out. We got a lot going on in our city, in this country, just a lot going on that we really wasn't able to get out to the masses just through our normal Facebook pages or whatever. And so when America 20 Life was first started, if people don't know, it's the play on me and Erica's name. It's like Bennifer, so Ben Affleck and Jennifer, they kind of started that whole
Ah,
thing. So it's Mike and Erica, it's America, and that kind of played in too, because our mental, our kind of our mode is really involving, like, America and so on and so forth. There's a lot behind this name that I'd have to tell in a whole half-hour story, but 20 to Life, at the time we created it, we had been together 20 years, and then, obviously 2 Life, so we'll be together for that long. So that's America 20 to Life, and it was originally started to kind of document our life journey and what we're going through and so on and so forth. And then as a part of that life journey, the whole propaganda situation popped off and all of this stuff going on in the city, and the show kind of took that turn. But still, it's got the same MO. It's really to just get education out to the people, voter education, as well as young people, just everybody, and kind of give a platform for all of that information to come out.
is that how I spell propaganda? Because I want to make sure I put that out there.
That's it, propaganda. My wife coined that. We were sitting around the campfire with Tashmika Torak and Paul Torak, and we were just talking about everything going on. And she was like, "I'm getting so tired of his propaganda." And then she was like, or I think Tosh said that, and he was like, "I know." Erica was like, "I know propaganda," and just from there on, it was just stuck. So that's his hashtag.
And that's another cool couple right there. I just met Paul last week for the first time and chatted it up with him for a little bit. And the
Yeah,
Firecracker Foundation, you gotta show love for that.
yeah.
So, um,
So yeah, those are beautiful people. He's
so
actually on our board with the Village Lansing.
oh, is he? Yeah,
Paul Torak is on our board. Yeah.
yeah, he's a good guy. Um, so you know, how long have you been doing the village?
It's been a year and a couple months. So it was July of 2019 that we started Ferris Park. That shooting that happened at the basketball
Yeah,
courts. I kind of put a call out for everybody. We needed to do something. I wanted the brothers in the hood, all the cats that I grew up with, to come together and figure something out. And that's really what we did. We got incorporated with the nonprofit in October of this year. This
yeah.
year, or no, excuse me. Yeah, it was this year. October this year, we finally got our nonprofit status, and it's been that from there on. So hopefully it
You,
sticks around, like even past me and Erica's living. It just continues on. It's just really the idea.
I think you guys are amazing. Everyone I talk to has heard about you. You guys are popping. You guys are on the scene. And I hope you know I got a lot of love. The Fledge has a lot of love for the Village Lansing. And then
Same with you, man.
America 20 to Life, I had no idea about the name. I thought you were making fun of like hillbillies that say America. And then I thought,
Well, we
20,
are. That's why I said there's so much behind this name that when I explained it to everybody, when I said it to Eric, I was like, America. We always joke with that, and it was like, well, that's Mike and Erica. It just all played in, man.
yeah. It's a spectacular name. I love it even more. I loved it before. I love it even more, man. And I thought the 20 to life would be, people of color are put into our prison system at a much higher rate than white people are, with systemic racism and all kinds of Jim Crow laws and all of that. So I thought it was more like that, but I love the
It
love
is, bro.
story.
It's all of that. Put all of that in. That's why I said I could talk about this name for a half hour. It's just everything that you just said wrapped in. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
And you guys got me thinking with propaganda, and I was thinking not a fandy. So I use that a lot, but I always give you credit when I say not a
Yeah.
fandy, because it was like what you said. I absorbed some of that mentorship. Uh,
Yeah.
so I got Dustin's out there saying we need to print that on some shirts and some stickers and that. So we'll
Yeah.
get
We
that
talked
going.
about
But
it. We
we
just
got to
haven't done it yet.
yeah. Um, but now something also important, what you're doing, and gun violence. Lansing's had 20 murders this year, not all of them gun violence. I think, was it this year or last year, when a child got accidentally shot. We got too many. Well, I won't even say we've got too many guns in the city, but we've got too many guns being used maybe for the wrong reasons or not used in the right way. Talk to us about what you're doing with training and education, because I think you are spot on what you are
Yeah.
doing.
So back in March of this year, we started Black and Brown 2A Advocates, which was basically a resource spot on Facebook where Black and Brown folks could come find out about firearms. I've been in the firearm world for a while. Always loved guns, and played with them as a young kid as well. Wrong, and did some really stupid things with guns as a young man. And so Black and Brown 2A Advocates was more or less a place where Black and Brown people could come and get resources, figure out, questions they may have, they want to ask about guns that they don't feel comfortable asking in some of the bigger forums that are kind of white controlled. And so from that point, I created the Advocates LLC, which is a firearms instruction group. So this year alone, I went and got my NRA certification to teach CPL and basic pistol, as well as MCRGO CPL certification. So that was all out of necessity. That's nothing I ever wanted to do. I never wanted to be an instructor per se. I always loved to teach, but that wasn't my dream to be, a firearms instructor. But what I realized was that, to be honest with you, like a lot of people was gouging us, like gouging Black and Brown people for training. And it's something that I think, like, it's almost like swimming. It's something you should know. It's just something everybody should know for their own safety. Even if they're never going to use a firearm or don't intend on carrying one, I feel like it's something that our community needs to have the knowledge of. And I just was really upset that people were gouging us for it, whether or not it was even some of our own were gouging. And so I went out and got my instructor certification, and so that I could do this, at an affordable rate, and then just continue education on firearms for just the masses, whether it's young or old. But through that process, again, everything that you see me do is out of necessity of a trap I fell in or a trap I didn't know about. And so if I can give that information back to young people so they don't get caught up in the same traps I did, that's really what my goal is. So out of that came the Advocates 21, 2A21 is what we're going to do this year. Where next year, 2021, where all young people who turn 21 can get a free CPL through the Advocates. And that's in turn to, first of all, educate them, because a lot of the young kids between the ages of like 16 and 25 are the ones doing the shooting. But also through conversation I was having with Carol Seaman, the Ingham County prosecutor, she was telling me like the majority of the felony cases they got coming in are just CCW. So it's not even that some of these kids are shooting anybody or doing anything with the guns. They're just carrying a legal gun or maybe illegal gun, and they're getting caught with it without having a license. And so now they're in this, in that legal penal code type arena. And it's like, so how could we do something about that? One of the main things is just educating young people that the fact is you can get a gun at 21 years old and carry it legally. You don't have to get, a gun off the street, because that's what a lot of times what happens, and that's what I did. I turned 21, still was carrying around a legal firearm, a stolen gun. Really, like real talk. And I could have went out and bought one. I had no felonies. I had no reason why not. And so I paid like 3 times as much for that stolen firearm than I could have went to the store and bought, exactly what I wanted. So this is just education for young people, and just people, period. They don't know. And so educating them on that type of thing, getting them licensed. And like I said, even if they don't ever plan on using it, but if they get ever caught with one, or if they go buy one and say, usually young people, if they buy a firearm, they're going to carry it. So I'd rather you be licensed. And then I'd rather you understand, because what I didn't know as a young person is the importance of the 2A, and why that amendment is so important to us and all the rest of our rights. And so if I educate people on these things, it's a lot of times a deterrent from doing something wrong with it or catching another charge. Like, since I've had my CPL and been able to carry, like, there's a whole lot of things I don't do anymore because I don't want to lose that right. And so this one of those things that through privilege, you could get people to stop doing other stupid things because they want to continue that privilege. And just like opportunity, when people get a good job, they stop doing stupid things to lose that good job. So again, along those lines, and giving young people, so if we take it back before 21, like all the way from 13 all the way up, we talked about before the show started, white people, and I shouldn't say just white people, but it's predominantly that. Teach the young people how to shoot at a really early age. Teach them the importance of firearm safety, all of that stuff. We don't get taught that because we're kind of dealt with it's like a prohibition on guns with black folks. We ain't supposed to touch them. It's abstinence. Don't touch it. It's bad. And that's a narrative that needs to be changed. They're not bad for us if we handle them responsibly and do what we're supposed to do with them. They're a tool, just like anything else, for safety, for hunting, for game, for sport. There's all types of ways to use firearms that aren't shooting somebody. So that's really another thing, is to get that education out, and then give these young people some place to go get that energy out. Like, where can they go shoot that's safe? Taking them to the range, giving them sports. There's all types of sporting with firearms that will keep them out of using that firearm on Cedar Street, just riding down the street. I used to do that. I would be so amped up to shoot this new gun I just got that I'd be out in the backyard busting it in the air, not thinking about where the bullets are going to fall. But if I had somebody who was picking me up every Saturday to take me to the range with me and 8 other guys to go shoot and teaching me how that works, I wouldn't have been doing that on the street. So that's my goal in mind, is to just give these young people an avenue to use guns safely and educate them while we're doing it.
Yeah. So, I work with Power and Passion, and it's a reentry program for ex-offenders coming out of prison. And part of the statistics that we learned in that process is about 72% of ex-offenders go back to prison because of a technical violation. They stepped out of bounds somewhere, they missed a meeting somewhere, and it's not like they're committing a new crime. They're just doing something they could have done, or not doing something they could have done, and everything would have been just fine. And this sounds a lot like what the prosecutor was saying, that just these technical violations get you in prison, get you in the system, and continue to feed that that school to prison pipeline, or the school to military pipeline. I love what you're doing, because we can cut out
that.
Yeah,
about that aspect. This is why it's so important, is once a kid catches a felony at 17, 18, 19 years old, from that point, everything in their life revolves around that felony. They can't just go get a normal job. They can't just live anywhere. They got to put that on every application. They start to live dangerously because they feel like their life doesn't mean anything now. I can't never do this. I can't never do that. I've got nephews right now that have felonies they caught real early, real good kids. And it's like, it's just the simplest, stupidest thing. And they didn't have a whole lot of understanding of the law at the time. So they was plea bargaining into felonies, and so that just one felony seems to beget the next and the next and the next. And some things that are legal are illegal as a felon. So when they get caught in that trap and finally get a felony on their record, for something so stupid, just not having paperwork, it starts this whole cycle, and we got to catch that before it happens.
You're a fan of guns? Is that a right phrase to use?
Hey, it's part of my family.
I mean, they're fun, right? Shooting a gun at a target's fun. I'm too much. I can't shoot an animal, but I shot a
No.
bird when I was a kid and all that stuff. Um, didn't like it very much. And then I spent a long time being anti-gun. And then, I read like Octavia Butler, the parable of the sower and all of that, where they, everybody, as part of their resiliency effort, you needed to have a gun, either to protect yourself or to hunt or even just to practice. I mean, shooting at a target is a lot of fun to me. You're not anti-gun, right?
No, absolutely not. I'm an absolute
But
2A advocate.
yeah. And you did something that I thought was amazing. It's the first time I've ever seen it outside of like a documentary about the Black Panthers. You walked up onto the Capitol with a gun escorting Sarah Anthony, right?
Yeah.
And that might have been one of the first times I knew about you and your relationship with guns.
Mhm.
And even to me, I was like, oh shit, I can't believe he did that. The white people that I know do that all the time. And there's a bias there, right? If a white guy's carrying
Absolutely.
a gun, he's a militia. If an Arab guy's carrying a gun, he's a terrorist. Or if a black guy, I don't even know, maybe a black guy carrying a gun's a criminal or something. And it was just amazing when you guys took that stance, because I think that echoed through the whole city. What was your thought there? Did you have a genuine concern for Miss Anthony? And what happened with that? What did you get flack for that? Did you get praise
No.
for that, or all over the place, or what?
So it was It was genuinely what you just stated. After all those militia, I shouldn't even say militia because it wasn't militia necessarily, but after all the what I believe to be white supremacists and right wing folks went up inside the Capitol with firearms, everybody was commenting on Facebook posts that if we was black people was to do that, they'd be murdered and shot and killed. And now you got to remember, I've been trying to change this narrative on firearms, probably for 10 years now. And so I felt like that was just a really dangerous thought process, that we can't exercise our 2A rights the way everybody else can. And it was us saying it. So it was like, this is just furthering, that propaganda that we can't do what everybody else can do, and we should be scared to do it. And I kept thinking, like, white supremacists are sitting back happy as hell that we're saying it. They don't even have to say it. They like, yes, keep them over there away from the guns. Let them tell each other that they can't do this. And I was like, nah, we can do this. We can do the same thing to protect our own. So I was like, I'm going to take up my 2A and I'm going to go protect ours. And so I contacted Sarah and told her, like, I was really upset watching her Facebook post where she was in tears, scared. And I was like, I'd be willing to, next time y'all have session, to escort you, and I'll find some brothers and sisters that's willing to go with me. And so that's what I did. And then the byproduct of that was, again, changing the narrative. And it was like, we can do this. You see, like, the world needs to see this. And you said that it waved through the city, but it waved through the world. Like, we was on the Guardian,
Yeah.
CNN picked it up. Like, it was all over the place. And it really did help to spark this black and brown movement of firearms. And that's not what it was intended to do, but a very good byproduct of it was that. And there's been a lot of people, I don't want to take away from anybody who's been in the game for years, black folks in the game for years doing firearms, but this definitely took the level of education as far as the Second Amendment to another level. That just the act of what we did, and then the 2A being involved with it was definitely different. So that's it.
It sparked something within me. I've been an anti-racist for a long time, and I still found that blind spot because I was still thinking, you know what? If those were some white kids out there with their hunting guns, they'd be protesting, that they changed the opening date for deer hunting or some shit like that. And it impacted me. I was scared for you. I was scared. Oh shit, they're going to get shot. But I don't know that I ever had that feeling if a bunch of I mean, maybe that I wanted to shoot at them because I think that's bullshit, but it really impacted me. And there's not a conversation I haven't had, or a conversation I've had with you, where I don't walk away feeling lucky to know you, feeling more knowledgeable about different things, and just you spur my passion, man. You keep me going. We were chatting it up a couple of weeks ago up at the Fledge, and man, you are a rock star, Michael Lynn.
Man, I appreciate it, brother. You do the same for me. I told you that, before we started this, like walking into the Fledge, just it lets me know why I do it. That's, you say 10,000 Fledges, and I absolutely understand what that means. And I hope to be, I hope to one day grow up and be like Jerry from the Fledge, have me a building like that. Like that's amazing, man. It's just amazing work, and I hope that we continue this, and everybody stays. Like there's so many people out here that are good, that their hearts are pure and just want to give back and do what they can, and as long as we're networking, and we talked about this that night, just networking and being able to have that 10,000 Fledges in mind and heart, that's what it really is. So I appreciate you.
So now, how would you sum up what your mission is with in particular with the A2 advocates? What's your mission there? What's the end game?
Yeah, so the end game would be that every black and brown person in the country would be educated on their rights, of the Second Amendment rights and why it's important, but also be licensed and not have to worry about that paperwork issue. It's almost like driving on a suspended license just because, or without a license, and you could have went and got one. So that's it. But I think that it will curb violence as well. I think that when you educate young people on why it's important, that they don't want to lose it, and give them an avenue, to express themselves through that. I think that it'll change a lot. I really do. I think coupled in with everything else that we're doing to try to give these young people opportunity and access to resources, I think this is one of those things that, being that the city is so explosive right now with firearms, you can't practice abstinence with this. You have to tackle it. It's in our culture. Yeah. Firearms, alcohol, sex, it's all in our culture. We have to tackle it head on. You can't just say, don't do it, stop. You have to start giving them responsible ways to do those things. Like with everything, every aspect of stuff, we try to, if it's bad or we think it's bad or the narrative around it's bad, we just say, okay, abstinence. It's illegal, don't touch it. And our young people they're just going to. And you want, when they do to touch it, to understand how it works. So that's that. But ultimately, the goal is to, from the point that I was that young, 13, 14 years old, started doing crimes and going in and out of juvie and stuff like that. I got waived to adult court at 15 years old. So I understand the traps you can fall through. I understand what the inside of a max cell looks like at 15 years old next to murderers and rapists. I know what that feels like. But then I also know what success feels like. And given that I was 33 years old, finally got my GED, finally, found me a career in firefighting, and how proud that made me. And I want to get people through those years, those years right there that I had all of that trouble because I just didn't know. So every trap I fell into, if I can give them the knowledge not to have to go through that, and get right from, Mike at 12 before he ever did anything stupid to Mike at 40 or 39 years old now without having to have any of those issues, that's the goal. That's the village goal. That's America goal. That's the advocates goal. That's it, straight across the board.
I love it, man. So is there something, like, I don't know, one little thing, one big thing you do every damn day that pushes this mission forward?
I advocate. That's really what it is, man. And it's to a fault sometimes where, I've had people tell me after I've advocated and got them out of their situation, like, I never asked you to advocate for me, and it's like, how do you take that? You know what I'm saying? So it upsets you sometimes, and then sometimes you just say, you know what, I did good. That's it. I did good on that one. Whether or not the recognition is there or they even acknowledge it, I did good. So that's one thing I do every day, is just advocate. There's not one day that goes by I'm not doing that.
Yeah, and advocating across the board, whether it's gun violence or food or education. So this systemic racism really impacts a lot of the different things, right? When we talk about equity, It's equity of rights, it's equity of property, it's equity of education, it's equity of so much stuff that needs to be, I don't even know. I always want to say rebuilt, but it might not even have ever been built in the first place.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think about the American dream?
I mean, it's a nightmare for us people of color. So at the end of the day, racism touches everything. I think one of the most important things that every black or brown person or kid needs to know is that they are black or brown in this country, and this country will treat you differently because of it. We do have to excel. We do have to walk circumspectly to get through this world. It's not anything, nothing's going to be given to us, period. And if it is given to us and people know about it, they're going to be super upset that we got a break. I found that out at the fire department. I got a
Yeah,
break coming in there, and everybody in there was upset. They was pissed. It was like, damn, I finally found a break. Like, my whole life has been this, and I finally found, they called me the success story there. Like, some of my buddies there, because of what I've been through. And that's like, I finally found a break, and they had a problem with it. So I think everybody should know, like, if you're black or brown, and racism is real, you will deal with it no matter what, no matter how much you try to assimilate, no matter how much you try to just put your head down and walk. It will attack you, and it will be there. So in every aspect of our lives, so we have to educate each other on that.
yeah. I think about the American dream when you like, especially when you were talking about um, opportunities being kind of slivered away when you catch that first felony or you do something wrong. You're the hope and the opportunity that you might have had if you even were able to see something that was believable. I want to talk about that too, but it gets shaven away by these felonies, and the American dream has never been real for everybody. I'm not even sure it's real for anybody, but the war on drugs, the war on guns, the war on everything is a war on the poor. It's a war on black and brown people. It's an extension of Jim Crow laws. It's an extension of slavery. And what you're doing, I just think is beautiful because you're hitting at all these little roots that make this big, huge problem. And you're doing it from a way that most people don't see or understand. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud to know you.
Thanks,
Um,
bro.
uh, and what did I just say? I said I wanted to talk about. Uh,
Yeah, I was
yeah,
I was gathering it all in too. I think you were talking about the impacts of systemic racism, and when a kid catches a felony, and that kind of
yeah.
tears their whole life up and kind of takes that opportunity out of the way.
And I think that, when that starts to happen, why participate in this other bullshit? All these systems are broken. All these institutions are broken. Why go get my GED if they're just going to fuck with me once I'm, in there anyways? Because you probably got your GED to correlate with the fire department, right? Is that
I
true?
didn't. I didn't. The reason I ended up
Oh,
getting my
sorry.
GED at the time that I got my GED, I was like already settled into a career. Like I did low voltage my whole life. So like I did cable to splicing fiber. I worked for AT&T. So that's kind of was my telecommunications was my way. And then I had my own business at the time. But my son was going into high school. He was 14. And I said, I got to get my GED. I can't press on him. This is by leading by example. I can't press on him to finish high school, and I didn't. And that was like a major thing for me, is that he finished high school. So I went and got my GED. That was what did it for me. I'm talking about the aspect of catching a felony and it ruining yourself. Kids do. They feel hopeless anyways in this world. Right now there's so much hopelessness out here that it can attach to you real quick. Like, the culture feeds hopelessness. Like, we all watch everybody's highlight reels, and kids just think, I'll never be able to get to that point. And so when something like a felony happens, and it could be the most innocent of situation, and we all have told everybody, and everybody knows that a felony ruins your life. It ruins your life for this point in time. There's more hopelessness. There's more like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm already this, I'm already that. These things are already against me. I already didn't have this. Now I got this thing going on. So yeah, it just fuels that hopelessness, that in the end of the day, when somebody feels hopeless and they're starving and don't have any opportunity, That's when you get gun violence. That's when you get robberies. So nobody's safe until those things are taken care of. And I don't know how to press that anymore. Like we keep talking about more police, more police. It's not gonna matter if these kids are out here starving, their stomachs hurt, and they ain't got no way to get out of that situation. You are not safe. You know, the only thing you can hope is that somebody like me or somebody like you instill some value into them, that they understand taking a life ain't what it is. But if they've never had that instilled in them, then you know you're not safe no matter how many police on the streets. So I mean, they'll show up with their pad and paper, take your name down of the deceased. You know, the fire department will show up and take you to the hospital. But other than that, you're gonna get shot, you're gonna get robbed, you're gonna get carjacked, because these kids and these people out here are hurting right now. So
Yeah.
you know, that all feeds into that. So we got to stop that immediately. Like get on top of that before it happens. And that's one thing I wanted to say is I was fortunate enough to get my jobs that I got, and everybody used to ask me that, like, how'd you get that job? It was like I applied, but first I didn't have a felony. I don't smoke weed, so I didn't have that issue either. When I went to go fill out an application, and they take me, oh, you got the job, but you got to take a drug test. I didn't have to worry about those things. So I was available and ready for opportunity when it arose. That's how I got the things that I got. So when the opportunity came, I was available for it. I was ready to do it, and I was charged to go get it taken care of. So that's it. But if I had a felony, I would never have been able to take this road. I would be talking to you from a prison right now easily, like easy.
See, and you just reminded me you were talking in the beginning about, you know, Killer Mike and T.I. and
1 second, Jerry.
Nipsey.
Erica, can you plug my phone in? Erica, will you plug this in? It's about to die. Sorry, man. I'm on Wi-Fi on my phone. I just want it to die. Go ahead.
Well, you're traveling. You were talking about Nipsey Russell, and you were talking about T.I. and Killer Mike and all of that, and somebody who looks like you that you're kind of absorbing from. You don't need, you know, a bunch of white guys that are on the movies and all that shit. You need something believable and real. And that's what, you know, that's what you can give to, like, my neighborhood I'm in that I can't give, because they hear enough white guys say, oh, you got this opportunity, and the bullshit, like, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and all of that. But they need to see real, believable opportunity. And what a better example than Michael Lynn, man. I'll tell you, man, and you and I should team up on tons of stuff, because
we will.
I need you.
I'm coming home, man, in the spring, and we're going to get jumping. I'm telling you, we're going to go after it.
I'm going to have all the windows open. You're going to walk in here and say, fuck yeah.
Birds are chirping.
Yeah. We won't have a new mayor yet, but at least we'll have a new president. But the new mayor, well, if he's going to resign.
That's the call.
You think so?
That's the call. We'll see what happens.
I think he's going to try to play it out for the rest of the term or whatever.
The thing is to talk about that. I don't know, man. He's cleaning up a whole lot of stuff that he's done, and maybe he's trying to go get an appointment with Biden or something. I'm gonna follow him wherever he goes, but at the end of the day, maybe he's cleaning up some stuff to get out of here, so his name isn't so terrible when you Google it.
All right, as long as he's out, I'm ready for something new.
Agreed.
All right, so we daisy chained these shows together. So yesterday, actually, I want to show you a couple things that Sean said. She was on the show yesterday. She said you're a diamond.
Oh,
and
wow.
that actually reminds me of an old story about there's diamonds in your backyard, but we go all over the world looking for diamonds when they're right in our backyard. And Jose Moore said something to me, I don't know, a few months ago. Economic development, community development, we're always trying to replace people. We're trying to bring people in from the outside, but everything we need is right here in Lansing. And I agree with Sean. You're a diamond, man. We don't need to go find people all over the world and bring them into Lansing to fix our problems. We got this. The people that were born and raised here, we got this. And then another thing Sean said, and Erica, it's hard to say your name sometimes without saying Erica's name, because you guys, I thought my wife and I were a power couple. I see you two, and I'm like, dang, that's a power couple right there. You guys are badasses. And
she's my fuel. I couldn't do it without her, to be honest with you.
I know you can't even keep your phone running without her.
See what I'm saying?
So shout out to Erica for sure. I on the show yesterday, Sean was on the show, and she wanted me to pass a question to you, which is, if you had kind of unlimited resources or more resources, who would you want on your team? What do you need on your team? Do you need like another fire safety person? Do you need a marketing person? What do you need on your team?
I need people. So like resources, not money. Resources is what I need. I need people who are willing to donate their time to do these things. Donate. So if we're talking about the 2A advocacy, we need rounds. We can't teach kids how to shoot without those things. So like that, obviously this stuff takes time and money to do. But really just people that are with the same heart and same mind. And that's what I thought I had that. Early on, I thought I had that with BB2AA, and I found out that I didn't. I had some people that were capitalistic in mind, and I had to shoot them out the way. And so that's really what it is people that are like-minded, that have this knowledge, ex-military, ex-police. I love a brother that's a police officer that's about the right stuff. I actually have a cat that I met in my NRA instructors class who's from Detroit. He's a sergeant in Detroit Police Department who's a dope dude, and he's got the same heart. So like that type of thing, if I had unlimited resources, that's what it would be, is more people who are like-minded, that are willing to give back and not be focused on the financial aspects of it. Okay. With this partnership too, I want to say that Mikey 23 for Mike McKissick from Mikey 23 is going to be partnering with us to do this 2A21. And then anybody else who wants to help out in any way, I'm more than welcome, or they're more than welcome to get involved. If they have resources they want to give available, or range, or like we need a place to do it at. You know what I'm saying? So there's all that goes into this thing. So we're wide open for that.
All right. So, man, shout out to Mikey 23, by the way. He's doing spectacular work, and it's I never knew who I don't know all the people you're working with, because I'm not I don't work with you like that yet. I hope that I do, but he's got a great organization, and man, we gotta get rid of the stigma of felonies, especially when you look at why these felonies are happening. It's systemic racism. I get arrested, you get arrested, you're going to get hit with a higher charge. That's just how it's going to be. And we got to remember that as people are coming out the other end too, because not every felon deserves to be a felon like that.
People need to use discretion when it comes to us black and brown folks. That's what it is. What you just talked about is discretion. If you got pulled over in Illinois with all those firearms like I did, and you were just passing through, they would tell Jerry, hey, Jerry, just make sure you get through. Yeah, if I got pulled over, they're going to stack all that out and lay it on the table and take pictures of it and say they found a guy riding through with 10 firearms. You know what I'm saying? This is where discretion is not used when it comes to black and brown people. Before you go in and after you come out.
Yep. So very good point, Mike. So tomorrow on the show, I've got an older gentleman who is we're going to start an effort called 11111, because we can build a full computer for we're really focused on young people on the east side here, but south side for sure, because I grew up on Hag Road. I got my love at the south side too. I got my love for all of Lansing, as a matter of fact. But we want to get computers in the hands of people. We want to get, figure out the internet problem and figure out that digital divide a little bit more. So I'm going to be talking to him, and you've got an opportunity for me to pass a question along to him. What question would you like to pass along to him?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit before the show, and the question that I came up with I would love to hear him answer is what barriers he's come into while trying to give back. Just period. Like, what barriers are you meeting? Like, are you having problems finding people to give this stuff to, so on and so forth? So that would be a question.
Yeah, and that is one of our problems. So I'm going to say it today. If you know some kids that want a computer, that especially kids that don't usually have that opportunity, usually black and brown kids, then let us know, because we want to see how big this is, and we want to make a bunch of them. So I always phrase that question back at you, but I don't have to really rephrase this one. What are some of the obstacles that you're running into And in particular, I'm curious, how are the white people coming at you and how are black and brown people coming at you? Because I'm sure you get it from both sides, because it's such a complicated issue.
So, the love in the city has been amazing. To be honest with you, on all aspects. I've had the question, or people state like, "Wow, how hypocritical is that he wants to stop violence in the city, but then he wants to put guns in young people's hands?" And that's just I can explain it to you all day. I can't make you understand it. Like that's just it. That's how I know. That's where I go in my mind. Like I can explain to you all day why I'm doing what I'm doing, but if you want to understand it that way, then there's nothing else I can say. But you know, I've been able to really influence even like the left or the liberal mind that is really towards against guns. Like even I've been able to sway some of them. Some major players in the left if have switched over, and I've been to the range with them. Like they went and bought firearms, and that's something they've told me they was completely against, and from the beginning of our conversation. And then I'm kind of convincing, because at the end they're like, all right, so what do I need to get? So it's really been like, it's been a mixed bag, but for the most part it's been very supportive, and people have been very supportive. If they're not supportive, I don't hear about it, so that's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I you put me over the edge. That sounds wrong, but you know what I mean. I got over that hump. I bought my first gun that I've owned since I was a little kid. Just a few months ago, I also, when people can't understand that kind of harm reduction approach, we don't want kids getting accidentally shot. We don't want some 5-year-old picking up a gun because someone laid it on the bed without thinking, or they found it in a drawer and it didn't have a trigger lock on it or something like that. And, my daughter died of a fentanyl overdose. She was a heroin addict, but almost every single day I pass out needles to people. And that's harm reduction. It's about keeping them safe, keeping them from getting HIV, keeping them from getting Hep C, keeping them from, stealing money to go get their needles or
Right.
reusing the needles. And it's the same type of strategy. And, we don't want a war on guns, because the war on guns is just going to turn into a war on black people, a war on people or white or poor people, and everything that they always try to get us to stop. It's always been a war on the poor, the war on the black, the war on the people we don't think look like us or whatever. And I love what you're doing. The founder of Harm Reduction Michigan loves what you are doing. She thinks you are spot on with the approach that you're taking. And you know and it's a right. It's an American right. And
Yeah.
I guarantee you, the people I know, the white people around me, don't think of it like that. Oh, we give him a gun, he's going to rob something. Then they think, I give my son a gun, he's going to shoot a pheasant.
Yeah.
Well, that's bullshit right there. That is bullshit. So,
So about that real quick before we get off, I
yeah,
want to say
no,
this. I hope that if anybody out here has any influence, I mean I do in somewhat, but Carol Seaman is the Ingham County prosecutor, has all the access to these young people who get caught with these CCWs, and we're trying to figure out. She's trying to figure out, because she's big into harm reduction. She's an amazing soul and an amazing advocate, for the black and brown community, and trying to do something different. But what I've been trying to focus on with her is that, she says if they get caught with a CCW, like I don't want this straight to prison attitude and then tear their lives up. Let me be a part of that fix then. When they get caught with that and you want to do something outside of this felony, convict them and do all of that and send them to prison, like give them education. They're gonna do it. They've already shown the aptitude too. They're gonna do that thing. Let's educate them and get them licensed so they can come out of a CCW when they got caught. And I'm talking about the right situation. I'm not talking about
yeah,
they got caught with a stolen gun and they, had a whole bunch of drugs. I'm talking about the right situation where a young person had a legal gun and just got caught with it without a CCW or with a CPL and got a CCW charge. Those people, let me get them people. That's the people I want. I want to help them get right before they catch it. But if I can't catch them before they catch it, let me get them afterwards. So if anybody's got any influence to put that in her mind, I talked to her, but I think she needs to hear it from somebody else. And a lot of people do. Like I could say all of this stuff, But a lot of times people need to somehow they just, it's like, I don't believe Mike. He talks too good. Like he must be trying to sell me something. I'm not. I'm just trying to help. So like sometimes hearing it from somebody else on the back end helps a lot.
All right, so Giannis is watching. Giannis, get that Eric dude that's the Ingham County treasurer to talk to the Ingham County prosecutor and let us do something good here. And the other thing, MSU, all you people out in J-Ray and ADAP, this is what you guys are built for, man. It's kids that get caught doing something early. Let's get everything fixed. Let's get it all right, and let's get them so that never shows up on their record. Because if we want to create hope and opportunity and the American dream, a believable American dream, we can't keep taking hope away. We can't keep taking opportunity away. And our man right here, Michael Lynn, you're going to make this American dream believable and real for other people. And I'm so damn proud to know you, man. I
appreciate you, brother.
You know, and I ain't trying to get some propaganda photo with you. And I'm gonna say not a fan.
Photo. I'm gonna take my photo with Jerry from the Fledge. That's what I'm gonna do. Then you can reshare that.
I'd be too proud of that. But you know, Michael, we got a lot of work to do. And you're taking time out. You're with your wife. You guys are sitting there, delaying your trip a little bit. You're about an hour away from Greenwood District Studios, and I can't wait to see the photos of that and hear the stories of this. So everyone out there, tune into America 20 to Life, because you guys are going to be telling the story on the road a little bit, maybe a little different than what you've been doing. And if you're not supporting the Village Lansing, even if you're supporting the Fledge and you're not supporting the Village Lansing, rethink that a little bit. Give some of that to the Village, because I got to make room for others. I can't always connect with these kids in this neighborhood, but the Village can. I know the Village can. So that's my pledge to all of you out there. Make room for others, man. Scooch over a little bit. Let Michael come sit next to you and sit at your table with you, and let Michael control the table sometimes, because he was there, and we ain't all been there. We don't all look like these kids, and it's super, super important. And the harm reduction work, look at the war on drugs. It didn't work, and it cost us trillions. Let's not go down that route with guns. Let's do this different. Let's take a better approach. And this man right here has this better approach. His wife really is the one that knows everything. She's in the background, but
you ain't lying.
Much love, man. Much love to you. Thanks
you
for coming on the show. Everyone out there, I will see you later. And we're out. Anything you want to say real quick, Michael?
No, I appreciate you, Jerry. Thank you, man. I wanted to say the same thing you did. Make room for everybody, man. I think that when we come together as a unit, we're going to be so much more powerful. And I ain't talking about the city government. I'm talking about us as the people. So it's all we the